There are moments in life that don't gently invite us to change. They stop us in our tracks. For Jay Abbasi, that moment came with the sudden loss of his father. What followed was a powerful awakening from autopilot into a life of deeper purpose, mindfulness, resilience, and service. In this conversation, Jay shares how loss became a doorway into transformation, how high achievers can pursue meaningful goals without burning out, and why letting go of attachment may actually help us perform at our best. This is a conversation about grief, growth, manifestation, mindfulness, choice, and learning how to thrive under pressure without losing ourselves in the process. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Make It a Great One with Dr. Dan. This show is all about bringing hope, connection, awareness, and wisdom through meaningful conversations that inspire us to be better versions of ourselves and have a positive impact on humanity. This is your space to pause, reflect, and reconnect with who you are, what you care about, and who you want to be. We have this moment, this day, and this life. Let's make it a great one. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Jay Abbasi. Jay is a global keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, coach, and former Tesla leader who helps professionals thrive under pressure without burning out. At Tesla, he led national training programs for over 1,000 employees and has since coached leaders at Google, Amazon, TikTok, Wells Fargo, and many more. Jay's been featured in Forbes Founder, Authority Magazine, and Medium, and is the host of the top-rated podcast, Unstuck with Jay Abbasi. Blending corporate experience with deep expertise in mindfulness, resilience, and well-being, Jay offers a powerful message. Success isn't about avoiding challenges, but mastering them with clarity, energy, and purpose. Jay, welcome to the show.
Dr. Dan, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
There were so many places to start with this conversation, and I keep finding myself drawn to a very powerful and life-changing moment in your life, which, from what I can gather, really set your life in a new trajectory. And if you don't mind starting with that 2014 life-changing experience with the loss of your father, I was wondering if you could tell us who you were before and how that changed with the meaning and purpose that you now live through in your life.
Absolutely, Dr. Dan. I could tell you the time in which I was on autopilot, which is something I think I saw in your description of us falling into a life on autopilot, was the years prior to me losing my father. I had no real direction. I had no real goals. I was 40 pounds overweight, credit card debt. My marriage was falling apart. During my keynotes, I often bring up this embarrassing photo of me. And people tell me, they're like, I don't even believe that's you. That must be your chubby younger brother or something, because there's no way that's you, Jay. And I have to tell them, no, that was really me back then. And I had no real plan as to how I was going to fix things, because I was working at this finance company, Dan, that was just burning me out. I was not happy. I was unfulfilled. There was no real meaning to it. And then it was June 22nd, 2014, when I received a phone call from my mother. It was at 6 a.m. I missed the first call because I was not someone who woke up that early at the time. And she called me a second time in a double call. Okay, there could be something wrong. And then when I picked up, I'll never forget the tone of her voice. My mother's a very strong, resilient woman. And I'll never forget the fear in her voice. And she said, your father had a heart attack, and I don't know if he's going to make it. By the time I got to the hospital, my father had already passed away. And it was really unexpected. He was seemingly healthy. And what it led to was me questioning everything about where I'm going, how I'm living. I didn't know how to deal with something like that. There was just this sudden change in my life, a huge loss. And what I ended up being something that led me to become obsessed with learning. I'd wake up 4 a.m. every day and I'd be reading books. During my lunch break at that finance job, I'd sit at a picnic table and I'd be reading and consuming as much as I could during lunch. And people would think I was a crazy person. I'd be doing this all by myself. And because of that loss, it led me down the path of curiosity. And because of that, I learned what it took to be able to manage through change and uncertainty in a way that allows me to perform at a high level without having to sacrifice my own happiness and well being in the process.
Change is not easy, as we know. Uncertainty is a monster at times to many. We humans like to know. We don't want to be surprised, and there's often fear about what could be, the what ifs. You had to make dramatic changes. It sounds like physical changes, like, I mean, the way you were living your life. And was it, I guess, was it scary? And the reason I ask this is that at times when we're brought to our knees, literally or figuratively, there's like, for some of us in these moments, there's no other, there's a courage, but I don't even know if it's courage. It's just like, there's no other, I have to do something different and I'm going to do something different. But then also once that adrenaline or the shock wears off, most of us have this like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like I don't even know what I'm doing. What was that like for you with such a significant pivot?
Yeah, I'd say what was scary was it was scarier for me to keep going down the path I was going. That was scarier. And so because of that, I had the motivation to fix how I was eating, how I was showing up every day. It was enough to get me to wake up early and really do the work, read, study, understand different perspectives, really open my mind up to different ways of living. I would say though, that didn't last forever. you know, I think that was a huge bit of momentum that kicked me off in this trajectory, Dr. Dan. And then it was later when I was like, okay, now I want to do something else that seems to be more unsafe. It seemed out of my comfort zone. Then I had to step into a bit more of that fear. I often refer to there's two different ways in which we can create new habits for ourselves and really start to live differently, get out of, or I should say, embrace change, really, like embrace change. One way is, and I look at it from a neurological perspective of what the neuroscience tells us. If you think about our neural pathways as highways, think of a car that's driving down a road. You could be driving down this road and you go down the same routines and habits that are really imprinted in your mind, the associations, the programming, the conditioning. And then as you're driving down this highway, Dr. Dan, a Mack truck starts driving towards you. If a Mack truck is coming right at you, you don't have a choice. You turn the car, you don't think about it. And that's what happened to me when my father passed away. It was just something so dramatic and it shook me to my core that I didn't have to really think about it. It was just, I need to change. Thing is, we can't plan for that. We can't really make
Mhm.
that part of our plans intentionally. So the other approach that we take is you drive down this highway and you really develop the right systems for yourself. So, and the way you do that is it's like putting up a road sign on the highway that tells you, okay, turn here. It's a very clear sign. And you take one step in this next direction, and then you take another step, and you just take these small little ways off the beaten path that are a little bit, sure, it's a little uncomfortable, but it's not overwhelming. You can take this one little turn. And if you do that enough, then you create a new neural pathway.
Mhm. Yes, I love that. I love that visual and that analogy, and it's making me think of a similar version I was taught about neural pathways as they relate to trauma, which is it's very similar. So the idea that we're on this highway and we're used to being on this highway or this road, and that's the road we're used to, and that's the road that might be have been put there through some of our traumatic experiences. And there's this other road that we start to forge. We start to walk. We start to flatten the weeds. Um, it gets more worn, but it's very narrow. It's very new, and we still have the major road that we're used to going on. And over time, we more and more use the new road very intentionally. And we might jump off that road and get on the main road, but we go back to it. And if we stick with it over time, that road begins to be the well traveled road. And we look over to the old road and weeds are starting to grow through it and it's starting to get dilapidated. And it's this like wonderful imagery of how much we can change, how much neuroplasticity there is, and how we can be very conscious and intentional about the road that we choose to take each day or in each moment.
Yeah, I love that. And the one thing I thought of is that first road, Dr. Dan, it doesn't go away completely.
No,
Right?
no,
We could so easily go back down it. I
yeah,
mean, just this week, right? I had a moment where I was just like, man, I don't want to do any work. I just want to go lay on the couch and watch some television. That's me, 15 years ago, where I wouldn't have the motivation to do what I need to do and take care of the things I need to take care of. And I would try to get out of it, like the kid in high school where you're like, okay, anyway, I could just have to do this in the easiest way possible, not have to put the work in, right? That program still runs in me. I
yes,
guess the difference today, Dr. Dan, is I notice it. I
yes.
notice it so soon. I'm observing it and I watch it and I go, okay, well, I could do that. And then what's that gonna feel like? Am I gonna be really happy with myself later if I did that? And what are some of the things that I'm gonna miss out on that I really care about if I just follow that instinct?
Hmm. Yes, yes. Mindful, very mindful, and something that you practice and teach and came out of your transformation. The other part of this transformation story is I know you talk about a breakthrough moment. So I know that a significant life event was the loss of your dad, and this breakthrough moment where you had this aha, which I'd like you to tell everyone about. And I'm wondering about the timing of where did those cross over or not?
Yeah. Well, it was years later, and I had now gone on this personal development journey. And I am becoming a huge fan of people like Napoleon Hill and
Mhm.
Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. And I watched this documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. Have you ever seen that documentary, Dr. Dan? Okay.
Yeah.
See you none. And it was so powerful. I was so inspired by Tony Robbins and the way he helped people and the motivation that he's giving me to consider my values and to achieve my goals. And I was fired up. And the next morning, I had a flight from Newark to Orlando. I was going to facilitate a training there. And at this point, now I'm working for a company named Solar City, later got acquired by Tesla. But I was in the middle of working at Solar City. So I was in the middle of this transformation. And I'm on this flight and I'm listening to an audiobook by Ram Dass, who is
Mhm.
a spiritual teacher. And Ram Dass is telling me that I should be empty
Mhm.
and goals are not important and all these. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
What?
Right? I'm like, hold on. I had Tony just tell me I need to set all these goals and be determined to achieve them. And I got Ram Dass telling me, let go of all that. And it really was just, it was like a fight in my own mind. And I remember I stopped the audiobook, I pulled out a journal and I just started writing. And I just started writing. And what I came to, the realization that I came to is that I want to pursue these things, yes, but I'm not doing it just for me. And it sounds simple, but for me, it was like had a huge shift. It was like it's like seeing the world for the first time. Oh, wait a minute. This is not about me at all. And therefore, both people are true. Tony's saying, achieve your goals. Great. I'm going to do that. Ramdas is saying, don't make it about your ego. Drop
Mhm.
that. okay,
Right.
both can be true. And I found a way to just see myself as a vehicle for something meaningful and impactful. And ever since then, don't get me wrong, I've wavered. The ego's come back up. Jay wanting to do things for Jay still is quite strong. I just find my way to pivot back to what I came to on that flight from Newark to Orlando.
Mm. Rom meet Tony. Tony meet Rom. I love that duality. And funny you should say Rom. Talk about Ram Dass. I actually say a quote to myself often, which I did this morning as my mind was getting away from me, and that is "Be here now." And I tell myself that to stay present when I find myself drifting, which of course we all know, all of us listening, watching, is that um, we're always going to drift. And the key to the meditative, real-time meditative, intentional experience, mindful experience is just being aware of when that happens so we can bring ourselves back onto center. But where I wanted to go is with what you said. I love this idea of service and how we're taught, like our ego, we have an ego, and our ego is created to protect us, like to protect our feelings and to protect us from being hurt and for survival. And yet the more we can evolve with the ego, I would say, like, very few people are ego, like, you don't lose the ego. It's just like that road, maybe we hopefully can spend more time away from our ego, but we never really lose it. Is the idea that we're here to serve, we're here for something greater. Like you're on stage. We're going to talk about your TEDx talk soon. Like you're on stage, not beyond your goal of wanting to do a TED talk, a TEDx talk. You're there to impact others. You're there to give people something that will open up something for their lives, not just great job, here's a trophy. And I think for those of us who've been on the trophy wheel, which I know I have, and I believe that you have as well, we know that's where the burnout like ends up happening, is because we're just chasing this stuff that takes us away from ourself, our purpose, and our service to others.
Yeah, I think there's two things that come from the approach of I am pursuing things just for me, and I'm caught in desire or attachment to an outcome, which is something I talk about a lot. Two things happen. One is that we create the distance between where we are and where our happiness is. Because what we're saying is, I'm not happy until I get that. Or when I get that, that's going to make me whole. If I say that, that means I'm not whole right now. I'm missing something. That's not a state of happiness and peace. Like you said, it's chasing. So it does something to our sense of just overall well-being. Here's the second part that people don't know, because I work with high achievers a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Dan. The other part about it is you're a lot less effective. You truly are. You're
Mm-hmm.
not as effective. There's the old poem by Chuang Tzu. It's called "The Need to Win," and I have my own little spin to it. And it goes something like this. It's have you heard of the archer who doesn't know why, when he shoots for no prize, bullseye. When he shoots for a brass buckle, he holds tight. And when he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. With each attempt, he cares a bit more, and it feeds a sense of wanting, craving, greed, and hence he is drained of power by his need to win. So what that does, when you're chasing it so much, you're actually less skillful because you're not as present. You're not able to just be in the moment because you're chasing that thing so much. So for the high achievers who are listening, saying, "Well, yeah, but I want it so bad, whatever it is I want, that I'm going to be okay with whatever discomfort that I'm facing now." Okay, well, you're going to have that, but you're also not going to perform as well. And if you want to perform well, you have to learn to let go of the outcome, be present, as you were saying, and not make it about you.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Um, that is uh, the paradox, right? The more we can be present, come from a state of presence, the greater our performance. Right? It's like it's not the white knuckling, it's not the forcing. Yes, it's hard work. I mean, you're tenacious, you work hard, you get in your reps, whether it's practicing for your TEDx talks, your keynotes, like you put in the time. But what we all know about performing is it's a state of mind to get into a place where we can achieve our own peak performance, whatever that might be.
Absolutely. There's rehearsing, there is effort, all of that. No one's going to achieve at a high level without those things. But what's fueling it? And if what's fueling it is service, if what's fueling it is giving, if what's fueling it is the fulfillment that you would receive in helping another, then it's just a different overall approach to it than if what's fueling it is only what you get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it opens so much up. Um, you also mentioned not being attached to outcome, and that is another thing that is really an important concept for us to think about because it also can be this again the Western and the Eastern and how we're taught certain things in the West, which don't always like it doesn't always add up, right? So if we show up to the best of our ability, whether it's on the pitch, whether it's on the dance floor, whether it's at work, whether it's with our kids, our partners, if we can show up to our best ability without wanting, expecting a certain outcome, not only do things generally go better, but we're less disappointed. We're not disappointed, right? This didn't turn out the way I thought it would. This didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. And it's so, why do you think we are so trained to attach ourselves to particular outcomes as opposed to think about how we show up in moments?
It's a great point, Dr. Dan. I think there is our upbringing, which I think really programs us. If you just think about any of us, we go to school and, you go from first grade to second grade, third grade, fourth grade, you graduate and that just keeps going, right? I get to the next thing. So it's really trained in us. And our parents, whether they're aware of it or not, are often fueling it. Oh, you got 100 on the test. Great job. Yay. Right. And you clap. And if you don't do a great job, there's this negative consequence that comes from it. And so you keep going to the next outcome. So there's this kind of systematic issue that I think we fall into. I guess that's the first thing that comes to me. And then the second thing that I notice is that people get caught in comparisons and they see what someone else has and they say, well, I don't have that, and then therefore I need that in order to be okay. And now they're attaching to whatever they see in someone's highlight reel on Instagram and not realizing that's just a highlight reel. That's not their real life. That's not what they're experiencing all the time. And you get so much coming at you from marketing to what people are showcasing as this is where you're going to be happy. When you get this, then you're going to be all right. And so it's so easy to believe that. It's so easy to fall into that pattern. And for some of us, we have to go through something really difficult for us to realize that that's not where true happiness and fulfillment comes from. Others, we are very lucky that there is someone who helps us along the way, or we start to, we're starting to read the tea leaves a little bit, and we start to realize, wait a minute, I actually got so much more when I helped this person, when I was just giving, than when I got that recognition or I got that
Mhm.
promotion. Yeah, it's okay to celebrate those things, but the way it's always gonna be, the way it is for everybody is you're gonna climb a mountain and you're gonna walk up that mountain. You're gonna say, I wanna get to that mountaintop, and you're gonna climb it. You're gonna get to that mountaintop. You're gonna feel good for a second, but you know what you're gonna see when you get to the top? Another mountain. that you have to climb, right? So rather than just wait to be happy when you get to the mountaintops, how about you find a way to be happy every step on the journey?
Yes. Yes. The metaphor, which I actually found myself living over time as I was practicing the words that you are saying, and of course, this was over time, was literally thinking about the hike. Spending as someone who does spend a lot of time in the mountains, and like I look back on my hikes and how much energy I spent thinking about when we were going to get there and when it and what the and how long it would take to get there. And then once we got there, thinking about getting down, right? Like it's just it was so mechanistic and future focused. And to contrast that with what you said, the process of actually enjoying the hike. And it seems so now so basic, but it's become it's the metaphor of what you're talking about, of how to
Yeah.
live. It's like, can we enjoy the ride and
Yeah.
not it be about the destination?
Have you ever read The Alchemist by Paulo
Oh yes.
Coelho?
Oh yes.
And so the story he tells in that book of the boy or young man who goes to visit the I forgot what he called it, a guru, or it was a wise man, and he shows up, and it's like this mansion, and he enters the mansion, and he asks, the wise man, like, what's the secret? What's the secret to life and happiness and success? And the man says, well, you know, uh, what I want you to do is, have you looked around my house yet? He goes, no, not yet. He's okay. Well, I want you to go ahead. I want you to look around the house. And he said, oh, but by the way, before you go, take this spoon with you. It has two drops of oil in it. Just be sure that the oil doesn't spill. And so the young boy walks around the house, but he's just watching the spoon the whole time. He's just watching the spoon. And he comes back and he says, okay, I did it. And the wise man says, well, what'd you think of my house? What was your favorite room? And the young man goes, "Well, I actually didn't really look. I was caught looking at the oil." He said, "No, no, no, I want you to go look at the house." And so he starts to walk around the house and he sees the paintings on the wall, the garden in the back, and he's blown away by what he's seeing. And then gets back to the wise man and says, "Oh my God, I've never seen a house so beautiful. You have such an amazing home. It's so incredible here." He said, "Wow, I'm so glad you think that. What happened to the oil in the spoon?" And he spilt it, right? And then he says to him, "You want the secret to happiness and success in life? Then I want you to be able to enjoy the entire journey. Look around, take it all in, but don't ever forget about the oil on the spoon. The oil on the spoon represents what we're looking to achieve, but we can do both. That's where the
Mhm.
magic happens."
Yeah. Yes. Yes. You said, and you mentioned the secret, which makes me think of manifestation. And I really like how you talk about a few different ways of looking at manifestation, one from a neurobiological perspective and another one from more of a metaphysical or spiritual. And so please explain that, because this to me is the runway to one of the things that you have achieved, I will say manifested, with your TEDx talk, which was a dream of yours that had to happen. And so I'm throwing all that out there for you to do what you wish with it.
Yeah, I'm happy to dive in. And it's been recently on my mind quite a bit. The ideas of manifestation and how we can make choices through what we choose to focus on and how it then can lead to the experiences we want. So I was always someone, Dr. Dan, I was very skeptical of these things.
Hmm.
You're telling
Hmm.
me that if I just sit on my couch and visualize what I want, then I'm going to get whatever I want. That sounds kind of simple, right? Or if I just make a board and I put some pictures on it, and then I'm gonna have the Rolls Royce and the nice vacation and the big home just because I put it on a picture board. And then I learned about the way the brain works, and I learned about the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. And it's the old adage of, you buy a new car, you leave the showroom, and then all of a sudden you're seeing your car everywhere on the highway. Why? It's not like there were new cars of yours that just showed up, right? You're just starting to see that car more after you just bought it. And it throws people like, why does that happen? Well, what happens is that RAS has deemed that this car is now important. And so it is filtering out other cars, and you're seeing more of that one car that was already on the road. You just weren't noticing it before. So we've all had this experience, and we are not tapping into it nearly as much as we could, because that's not something that just happens only on its own. You can be proactive and intentional by what you're choosing to focus on. Then you'll see more of it. So it's kind of like putting in a Google search. If I put in a Google search, it's going to filter out all the stuff I'm not Googling. I'm just going to see the results of what I typed in. So that's how I think about visualization and manifestation, which is, well, if I spend each morning really just picturing what I want to experience and I make it really clear in my mind, then the subconscious is going to be doing its work to be able to find those opportunities. I really, not only do I believe is not even a strong enough word, I know that it works because I've had so many experiences of it, from the TEDx talk to just being a keynote speaker to meeting my wife, like all of it, to
Mhm.
driving the car I drive. I mean, I saw it all before it happened. How it happened, I could have never planned any of it out. That was just how it all unfolded. So I would start there by saying
Mhm.
anybody who might be a skeptic of these things, look at it from that perspective first, and it just makes sense. Dan, you must know somebody, right, who's a very negative person, and then all of a sudden, negative things keep happening to them,
Right.
right? We all know these people, and it's not
Mhm.
just because they're unlucky, it's because their RAS is only filtering the negative things because that's all they're thinking about. Well,
Yes.
let's be more intentional and look for the things that we want to experience.
It's energetic. And there's this idea that the universe is here to work for us, and we have to invite the universal forces in, right? And to your point, like, what are we bringing in? And there are lots of people who are skeptics, who will say, yeah, thinking about something happening as it is before it is, like, that's hocus pocus. And I've come to learn to say, like, well, what's the harm? Like, what's the harm of trying this out? Like, literally, like, just try this out. Just pretend. And the famous story, of course, is, or one of the many, of Jim Carrey,
Wow.
who, wrote himself, I think he was living in his car at the time, and he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered from the universe. And was it, I mean, you're nodding your head, so I know you know the story, right? Was it about a year later he got paid $10 million for Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? And he
It's
tells
a
this
it's
story all the time.
incredible story.
Yes,
It's an
yes.
incredible story, and by the way, listeners, listen to some of Jim Carrey's wisdom. I mean, I would
Wisdom.
encourage
Yes,
you. It's
yes.
wisdom. I mean, his commencement speech is incredible that he gave years ago. I've listened to it so many times, and in my own research, he also used to drive into a certain neighborhood in LA, and he would park his car and just look at a house that he wanted to have. And he would just look at that house over and over and over again. And look, the second part of this, like the metaphysical part of it, right?
Yes.
I could say this, Dr. Dan. I have no idea how it works.
Right, right.
I'm honest. I
Yes.
don't know how gravity really works either, to be honest. I can't explain how gravity works. I can't explain why the sun is the way it is and how the light and heat then created life on the planet. And I don't have all of those answers. I genuinely don't. Here's the thing, I do know that gravity exists, though. Without me having, the ability to explain it, of course, if I throw something up into the air, it's going to come down. Of course it
Right.
is. I think when it comes to things like manifestation, I approach it the same way. I don't have all the specifics. And as you said, if you test it out, if you really test it out and you go about spending time each day to visualize what you want to experience, to really Go farther than I want this. Get to the point where I am so happy and grateful now that I am. That's the language I use. I am so
Mhm.
happy and grateful now that I am whatever it is that I want to be experiencing. You're going to start to see some changes. Here's the thing though, Dr. Dan, you can't do it with attachment. That's
Mm.
where there's you
Back to
have
the
to,
attachment, yes.
right. You have to do it with a sense of it's already here. It's already here. If it's already here, then I'm not reaching for it. I already have it. Just like if I go to the newsstand or whatever and buy a newspaper. Well, I have the newspaper now. I got it. I made a choice of
Mhm.
buying the newspaper. That's kind of the selection process of
Yes.
what it is that you intend to be experiencing.
Yes, I think about it also through the gratitude lens of, I am so grateful I have X,
Right.
right? Like, you're grateful that you have it right now. And there are those that say, it's coming. It's all coming. It's waiting for you. And this is beyond mindset. We talk about mindsets, but it is a way of thinking, but I think you'd agree it's a way of embodying a knowing of a reality that you want, but you have to embody it as if it is already here.
Exactly. Exactly. I thought of this analogy the other day. I told a friend of mine, and I don't know if it's silly. I'll tell you it. Okay, let's say you're single. Okay, you're a single person, and you're going out on a date, and you are on that date, and you are really needy, and you're really desperate for that person to like you. You want them so badly. Okay, is that person going to be really attracted to you? Probably not. They're not really gonna be on the same page. Well, that's kinda like how it works with the universe.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good,
like, if you
okay, that's
say
good. That's good.
you
Yeah.
want it so bad, the universe can be like, "Ah, I don't know about you." You and I don't we're not on the same page, you know? And if you go on a date and you're like, "You know what? I'm present, I'm here, I'm choosing to be on this date with you, and here's what I intend." I intend to get to know you. I intend for this to go well. And you're just in that state of we're connected. Like we are connected, you and I, whomever you're on the date with. You're much likely you're increasing the likelihood that this person's going to be more attracted to you and you're going to be able to have a better experience. Well,
Mhm.
that's the approach to take with the universe.
Yes. So putting this together, moving to your TEDx talk, what you gain by losing yourself. There are those that also, we talked about, you gotta work with the universe. Um, some people use the word like take aligned action. Um, you know, take take action in the direction of what you are calling in. We could also say what your goals are, what your dreams are, and you fulfilled one of your dreams. And so, as a way into this part of our conversation, would you say you manifested that?
Well, I would say that I can't know for certain,
Right.
right? Like I was saying before, I would say I went through the process that I explained. I remember years ago, I was sitting, there was a point where years ago after I lost my father, I was, living with my mother because she needed my support, everything, emotionally, financial support, and so on. So I was living there with her. And as I started to learn about the things that we were talking about today, one of the things I began learning was manifestation and visualization. And I remember sitting on that couch and seeing myself on that red circle and seeing the audience and hearing the applause and I didn't know what I'd speak about. I had no idea. This was, a long time ago, 10 years ago. And it was last year when, 2 years ago is when I came up with what I would speak on. That was about 2 years ago. And then it was about a year ago when I was in the process of preparing for the talk. And then it was September of last year when I gave it and I was on that red circle and I saw it a million times, in my head well before I was there. And so it was an incredible experience. And I'd also say this is, of the kind of the harder part of the story, the more vulnerable part of the story. What ended up happening was that the talk, while when I was there, everything went really well. They actually had some tech issues with my talk, Dr. Dan. And
Mm.
so it actually, while I got to experience it and the people in the room got to hear it, the audio wasn't captured. And so it didn't actually get to be published on YouTube, which was challenging. It was a very difficult thing for
Okay, well,
me.
that explains why I searched high and low, and I learned everything about it and everything you talked about it, but I couldn't
Yeah.
find it. Oh, wow.
So Dr. Dan, I got to tell you, like
Wow.
I teach resilience, right? I give keynotes on this topic. I coach people on it. And it was an experience this year that really tested my own way of internalizing what I teach. Because what I learned, Dr. Dan, was that I had some attachment. I definitely did. Oh, I
Mhm.
definitely did. And
Understandable.
I feel like it was a great learning lesson. Like, while I would have loved for the talk to have been recorded perfectly and for it to be available, I feel like it was a learning lesson for me. It was like the universe saying, "Hey, Jay, you got to check this. You still got some stuff that you have some attachment to, and
Mm.
you got some work that needs to be done." And so, while it was so difficult to have to hear that news that it wouldn't, we're not going to publish this, I'm I'm grateful that I went through that whole experience, because yes, I got to stand on that stage, and I intend to do it a second time. I will at some point,
You
and
will.
I'm gonna be going about the process without the same level of attachment or even importance that I was placing on it the first time around.
Mm. In what way? Because
It
you practice, you're still gonna be I know, I mean, like, you're
Oh,
still
yeah.
gonna deliver your peak performance, so I'm curious, what will shift for you?
I've given this a lot of thought. I've given this a lot of thought. It is okay, earlier you were saying, being mindful and observing, right? What I intend to do is really observe when that feeling comes up of, "Oh, I can't wait for this to come out. Oh, this is gonna do so much for my business or brand," or whatever it is. I'm gonna
Mhm.
watch for that, Dan. I'm
Yep.
gonna watch closely, and I'm gonna notice it, and I'm gonna let it go, and I'm gonna do it over and over and over again. That's the only difference. The
Yep.
amount of rehearsal, it's gonna be the same. The intention of delivering an exceptional talk, that's gonna be there. It's that desire that was, maybe a little bit under my own radar, that I was feeling for it to go the way I wanted, that I'm gonna have to be much more observant of, and I'm gonna have to let it go.
Living it, modeling it, talking about it, teaching it, and living it.
Yeah, because no matter what, I mean, I'm sure you feel this way too, Dr. Dan, like, we're all working on these things. No, like, I agree with you what you said before. There isn't a single person in the world that has completely remove their ego. I don't think so. I mean, maybe there's one in the world. I don't know.
Yeah,
Ramana Maharshi, people say, was like that. I
yeah.
don't know. But I never met him. But anybody else I ever met, they all have some ego with them. They all do. And I think the work is always going to continue for till the day I die. I'm going to have to do
Mhm,
this work. And
mhm.
I look back, I genuinely feel grateful for the fact that I went through that, because it was like, it was so revealing, and it was also really humbling, and being able to say, all right, I still have work to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's not the outcome that, you wanted, any of us would want after all of the literally the years of prep,
Yep.
the amount of time. The pictures look really good, though. Looks like super legit, like, you totally delivered. And I just think that is where we have to be open back to the universe of these lessons that we are given, these messages that we're given, the things that do happen the way we want and the things that don't happen the way we want. And can we be open? This is what I really try to focus on as I've gotten older and older. It's like, can we have some trust and faith in the larger intelligence of the universe, because we're always trying to make sense of things, right? We're always trying to like mind bend certain things to happen. And I just think we have a limited view in things most of the time.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's also, we all have this innate desire to control, and control is just, it's so problematic, wanting to control. And what I think is a better word that I use is choice. That's the word I use, is choice. I even sometimes, Dan, I hear people who write books on the subject, and they're really experts in the field. They say things like, you got to control your thoughts, you got to control your feelings. That's silly. I don't know a person in the world that's controlling any of their thoughts or their feelings. How do I
Right.
know? I
Right.
can't control what thought's going to come to me 10 seconds from now, Dan.
No. No.
you know, and so we have to learn, like, it's a powerful lesson, learning how to completely let go of control, just completely let go
Hmm.
of choice. But that doesn't mean you are now just, floating in this river and you're resigning to whatever the world does. Like, that's not what I'm saying either. Step into the power of choice, because with every experience, you have a choice, and you can choose how you're responding, or better yet, you could choose how you relate to
Hmm.
the thoughts and feelings you have. You
Yes.
can then choose how you respond, and you can also choose the story you tell yourself about the experience. Those are the choices you have, and once you step into that, man, that's powerful.
That is powerful. You're making me think of the idea that I was told and have used a lot in my work over the years, which is just because we have a thought doesn't mean it's true,
Right?
right? I
Yeah.
mean, whether we're suffering from OCD, whether it's depression, whether, any sort of anxiety, we get these thoughts and they're electrical, they can be just electrical impulses if we look at from a neurobiological perspective that turn into words. And we have to remember, as you are saying, like we have a choice about what we do with those thoughts once we notice them.
Yeah, yeah. Can I tell you a quick story? It won't be
Sure.
long. So, I was on a flight recently. It was from San Antonio to Chicago. I'm in the window seat, and in the middle seat, there's a woman who is coughing like nonstop. Yeah, I mean, snot. It was gross. Okay, right next to me, and it gets worse. She then pulls out her cell phone and she starts playing a game, and she has the volume turned all the way up. So I'm hearing every ding, every
Yep.
time she collects the rings or whatever she's collecting. It's so loud. Okay, so the thought that enters my mind is, how can this person be so inconsiderate? They're gross. I mean, I want to yell at her, right? Then what it ends up being is that she has all these allergies. Okay, she's just struggling with allergies. She went to the doctor. The doctor said they can't help her, and she always goes through it this season, and she feels embarrassed by it. And she's going from San Antonio to Chicago to go visit her daughter, who she loves very much. Moved to Chicago, and she plays these games because she just lost her husband recently. He passed away, and she's just trying to keep herself occupied, especially on a flight. She starts to think about him a lot. Now, how do I know all this? Dan, I don't. That's the story I told myself in the middle of the flight so that I don't get so frustrated by this woman, right? Like, that's the
Yeah.
choice I made,
I
right?
have all this empathy now for her. I have so much empathy. Yes.
Right. That, look, could I have asked her politely, or of
Yes.
course I could have, right? But in the end, Dan, this is the choice I made. And when I made this choice in this moment, I just ended up taking a nap on the flight, and I woke up and we were landing.
Hmm.
It was that, like, why am I going to let this resentment kill me? Like, I'm going to
Yes.
let this upset me. I'm going to just instead give her a little
Yes.
bit of my own internal compassion, and then bring my attention to something else. That's the power that we have in choosing.
Great story. We need to be thinking about, we need to make up a different story. And we can choose to make up a different story that, that will help us, help our nervous system deal with situations. Great. I love that. I love that. Um, Jay, you are, I sense you are on an exciting growth filled path. And one of the things that I was drawn to in you, and now having experienced you, is you live what you learn, and then you teach what you learn, and you're always learning and growing, and you're sharing that with those that you speak to. And it's that humility, that vulnerability, that it allows people to be inspired, which I know is one of the many things you aim to do.
I really appreciate you saying that, Dr. Dan. And if it's all for the kind of impact that this teaching can have, then for me, that's a calling that I will continue to show up for at my very best. So I appreciate you saying that.
Tell everyone you deliver a lot of content, right, through your solo on your podcast and on your guests, and you are always you're speaking, you are coaching. Tell everyone where to continue to stay connected with you.
Yeah, my website is jayabbasi.me, and LinkedIn. I'm really active. I've been active on LinkedIn for many years. YouTube, we have our YouTube channel, Jay Abbasi Podcast, and then Unstuck with Jay Abbasi, where we have both guest episodes, and then I do some solo ones as well. So any of those would be great places to connect.
Well, thank you for your time today and sharing your wisdom and experiences with all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. It was amazing. Thank you for having me.
I could feel Jay's authenticity, vulnerability, and passion for this work. And here are 5 key takeaways from our conversation. Number 1, sometimes change begins when staying the same becomes scarier than stepping forward. Number 2, transformation happens one conscious choice at a time. Number 3, achievement without presence can cost us our peace. Number 4, letting go of the outcome can actually improve performance. And number 5, we may not control every thought or feeling, but we can choose how we relate to them. We are all growing. We are all learning. And we can take in these messages, Jay's wisdom, as we go forth and try to be conscious and present in our life. Today, it starts with each moment, and it goes from there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community. Thank you for your 5-star reviews, for subscribing and bringing your amazing people to us. As always, we have this moment, this day, and this life. Let's make it a great one. This has been a Peters and Rossi production. Make It a Great One with Dr. Dan is produced by Amber Miller. Our engineer is Phil Rossi. Theme music is Uplifting Folk by Awesome Music. Artwork by Kelly Dwyer. Follow us on social media at Dr. Dan Peters. For more information, visit drdanpeters.com.